Another early morning, and I got another one of these Exmark stand-up mowers in. The one customer I'm dealing with has a lot of these, obviously. And this one's got this little cattle chute here, I guess, for bagging. This is different than the other ones we just did. So, why do we have this one? We have this one because the drive belt needs to be replaced. Guy said he went to do like an inspection and noticed that the drive belt was cracking and in bad shape, so he wanted it proactively replaced. I think that's wise and smart and good on him. So that's what we're going to do today. The drive belt replacement part for this Exmark is 114567-SL. This is a genuine Exmark replacement belt, and this is for the VTX 740 EKC 6400. So it's a 60-inch deck. Let's take a look at that drive belt and see what it looks like. So take a look at the drive belt, look at it around the pulley, see how it's cracking, fraying. I mean, we're missing a chunk out of that one there, Christ. So, yeah, this thing must have been slipping. I wonder if it was smoking. I mean, it was so cracked. But anyway, we're going to have to figure out how to get all this shit off to replace it. So I do not see any way around it. I think I'm going to have to drop the deck on this unit in order to remove the PTO clutch so I can remove the drive belt. If you watched one of my previous videos, I showed you a cheater way and how to install the deck belt on this thing. I can't do that here. I think I'm actually going to have to drop the whole deck. This deck is mounted with numerous bolts and whatnot. I actually think this is going to be a pain in the ass to do. But only one way to tell. So one thing I did is I removed the cattle chute out of the way. It just hangs on with a simple bolt and a pin, so I just took that, threw that to the side. You're going to have these, I'm going to call them hangers, but this is how you lift and lower the deck. This deck there's two bolts here, and same thing on the other side, and there looks to be at least one or two bolts in the center of this thing. I'm not too sure how I'm going to get to those just yet, but the first thing I do have to do before I remove those bolts is I want to take the deck belt off. At least I'm just going to slip it off of this pulley. That way I relieve some of the tension. So to do that, you have this pulley arm here, and there is a hole for a 3/8 extension. So we're going to drop that in here, and then you will see me crank on it, and that will relieve tension on the belt. Now, as I apply pressure onto the idler arm, you can see the belt gets loose, and I'm actually going to slip it right off, and then I'll release it. So now I have relieved that pressure. That'll help us out with taking the deck off and the belt off the PTO. So for removing the deck, you do want to set yourself up for success. One thing I did do is, before I removed all the bolts on the deck, I took 2 blocks of wood and I took my pry bar and I put that underneath the deck, because this deck is going to want to drop and you're going to want as much help as possible because these things are fucking heavy. The tools I'm using to do this job is my 3/8 impact with a very long extension. It's about a 24-inch extension with a 9/16 open box end and a swivel socket. And pretty much what I'm doing is I'm giving this thing a reach around the tire, and I'm using that to remove those 2 bolts. You're going to have to put your hand underneath the deck with your open box wrench and snug up on the nut on the other side. That way you can back it off. I did the other side already, so I know that works. This side, though, they decided to put a little hose bracket that's preventing you from getting there. So you're going to need to unbolt that and then pull this bracket off and get that hose out of the way so you can actually impact this thing off. So now I got access to do it. All right, I'm going for the top one now. Already got the bottom nut off, so I'm taking my open box wrench. And let's slip this puppy up here. All right, I'm gonna impact it off. Okay, that came off fairly well. And I might have to, ooh, this one's on there pretty good. I might have to lift up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lift up on the deck a little bit. Push this bolt out. There we go. So now that I got the 2 bolts off on that side, the 2 bolts off of that side, and I disconnected this one drop hanger and the other drop hanger, there's only 1 bolt left to do. And we're gonna dive into the deck, because this is not the easiest to see, but so I don't know how well you can see that, but in between either sides of the deck belt, right in the center, you see there is a bolt. So the nut side is on the bottom end of the deck. Because there's so much pressure on that 1 bolt, I might be able to just loosen it myself. Maybe I can get an impact in there. I don't think I can. But I got to loosen that bolt, and that is the last one that's holding this deck on. And then then the deck should drop. So taking this bolt off is going to be interesting. So I got the super long extension with my swivel socket, and I literally have this extended all the way down to the top of the nut there. So this bolt is all the way in the back towards the guard of the 3rd blade. Hell of a reach we got here. Let's see if this works. It's working. Make sure you have your deck blocked, because this thing's going to drop. So I have it blocked on my one side. Alright, I got that one off. So I think the deck should just come right off now. I'll remove this block of wood and see if it does. All right, with the belt off, what if I could just walk this mower back? Oh yeah. Uh-oh. I didn't stretch this morning. Okay, the deck is off. Now's a prime time to get rid of all this crud. Probably because if you don't, it's never going to come out of here. Plus, it makes your life a little easier when you're trying to reassemble stuff instead of you getting this thing stuck in horse shit and grass. I decided to just lift this thing up before I go to work. So I got this thing doing a crazy wheelie, but I think that'll help me with getting this PTO off, because I can put more ass behind it. There we go. That thing's on there pretty good. Definitely gonna have to pry this thing. Okay. That PTO, let's unplug it. You want to be very careful with your PTO wire. And PTO is out of the way. So I'm going to bring you up close, and then we will take this belt off and put a new belt on. I might be able to do it by hand. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll just do it by hand. Slip that off. I'm actually going to take this spring off too, so I can get the belt out. Take a look at this belt. Look at all the cracks in it. Still holding strong, believe it or not, but if I was the owner, I'd want to change this too. Had to be slipping a little bit. Again, we're working with this belt, and we are putting this brand new belt on. Alright, so now that that's on, look at that, I'm just going to I'll probably slip this one off because I'm going to need the slack, one, to put the spring back on. So let me put that spring back on. And I don't know if my hand's going to have enough strength. If not, I'll have to put a wrench on it. But what I'm going to do is pick up on this. Yeah. So there's really not that much pressure on that. Yeah, I guess that's all you need. Yeah, it feels good. So that was easy. All that work just to change that little belt. Ain't that a shame? Anyway, what are you going to do? So let's, I'm going to reassemble everything, and then we're going to test it. Now when you're lining this PTO back up, you want to make sure you catch that bracket. If you don't, this PTO is going to spin nonstop, and we don't want that. About to bust out my 9 and shoot that fucking cricket. Oh, he stopped. Make sure I'm not like touching nothing. You know, I thought lining these up was going to be very challenging, but you know, lining these brackets up hasn't been too bad actually. Okay, that one's on. Alright, let's get these hanger bolts in. You want to make sure you orient these right because there's a step change in the bolt. So, and you got your washer side here. You're going to put your washer side on your nut end as well. Okay. Guess I'm just going to have to pick the damn deck up. Let's try it. Oh my god, this thing's heavy. Yeah, that's what I had to do. Don't recommend that. It's heavy, but it got it done. Alright. Now that I got all the bolts in, I'm going to go around and make sure I zip all these tight. Then I think we're just about done. Alright, now that all the hardware is on and on tight, okay, deck seems to be working good. So the final thing we got left to do is to put the deck belt back on. Nice. And she's on. You want to pull it with your hand. Just make sure everything's turning right, and it feels really good. So that's nice. Well, that's going to be it for this video, but needless to say, changing the drive belt out on these things is not as simple as it seems. These decks are very heavy, so you want to make sure you have yourself supported well, and any blocks of wood and stuff. That way you don't want that deck falling on your arm, because that damn thing probably weighs 200 pounds. Anyway, time to get to work. But this one's out and the customer can come pick it up. Later.